Hello and welcome to this edition of the Four Ps Podcast. Today's podcast is I don't want to say in celebration of Independence Day. This is Independence Day week. We just, this past couple days ago, celebrated our 249th birthday. There are so many things that we had to do in those 249 years to make this country the way it is today. And with that, there were a lot of lives that were lost in the process. And today, we have the sister of one of those people who lost their lives to make sure that we are free today. This person is named Sarah O'Brien. She's been on the program before. She's actually an author in the book, Stories of Friends and Family Lost. She is she is a great counselor. She does counseling in Richmond, Virginia. And a lot of that counseling is rooted in what she went through. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what she went through and the trials of being a part of a Gold Star family. We'll be right back with Sarah O'Brien speaking of Adam Fargo right after this.
Grief is a language we all understand, but healing begins with shared stories. Stories of Friends and Family Lost brings together powerful first-hand accounts from those who've experienced unimaginable loss and found strength on the other side. Whether you've walked that path or love someone who has, this book is a tribute to love, resilience, and remembrance. Available now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold. Stories of Friends and Family Lost, because no one should grieve alone.
Welcome back to today's Four Ps Podcast. Today's podcast is a little different for many reasons. Number one, we have Sarah O'Brien, who's been on this show before talking about entrepreneurship and how she single-handedly is changing the way mental health is approached. You know, it is a very expensive thing. It's the money involved and stuff like that. And when she found out what was going on in the industry, she went out to make it better. And she is doing a great job in the state of Virginia for sure. But today we're talking about something else. As you know, we have the book called Friends and Family Lost, and this book just came out. I'm going to show it real quick. It just came out in May, and she has a copy too. And the reason why she has a copy is because she actually is an author in this book. The book means a lot to everybody who wrote the book, but it's also going to mean a lot to the people who read the book as well. And the other thing that Sarah's on here for is because her story is, especially me as being a veteran and now having a son who is in the United States Navy, this story means a lot to me. It means a lot to our country. Sarah, again, let me stop talking. Welcome back to the program. How's everything going?
Things are good. Things are busy. Yeah, the world is interesting right now, especially if you're a mental health therapist.
It is very interesting right now. You know, you're wearing a shirt, "Freedom isn't free."
That's right.
Why are you wearing that shirt today?
I can't believe it's taken me almost 20 years to get this shirt, because I say this frequently and attach it to anything in which I am talking about my brother Adam. Because he was killed in the war on terrorism in Iraq in 2006, and I know that freedom is not free. It has a cost, and I think many people do not realize that, especially if they don't have any affiliation or attachment to the U.S. military. Then there is kind of like blinders on. There's a lack of awareness and understanding about what that life really is and what actually happens.
Now, your brother, you write a story in the book, but he was in the Army, correct?
That's right. He was in the 101st Airborne out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and he was a medic.
Now, being a medic in general in the military, that is a dangerous job in itself. but he really, as a person, he literally wanted to go out there and he wanted to prove his worth.
Yeah. He's also a genius, which I talk about in like, so he had a photographic memory, which just made learning things like really easy for him. Like he did not have to try real hard. And so probably he got bored with stuff because he could like learn it really easily. And so I have no doubt that's why he was attached to a sapper unit. So this is a unit that these are the engineers that hunt and dismantle the roadside bombs. And so he's a medic, so he knows all the medic stuff, right? He's like a certified EMT and all those things in his AIT training that he did out of Fort Sam Houston in Texas. And then he learned the sapper's job too, because why not, you know? And that would be par for the course for my brother.
Now, when people look at Gold Star families, which is what you are, people see the Gold Star family, and then we have and we do, and I'm speaking we because I'm speaking we, the American people. We have ceremonies for them, we fold flags for them, and then after we do all that ceremonial stuff, we don't fully understand what happens after that ceremony. And that you and your brother were very close. This happened, what, 20? No. How long has it been?
July.
20 years ago.
2006.
So this happened almost 20 years ago. It's been, and so you're looking at someone who literally half of his life, you know, I mean, if you look at it this way, there's an entire back half of the life that you don't understand. Middle age for him was 11, which is super sad. You guys were close in age and close as far as siblings are concerned, correct?
Yeah, we were only 17 months apart. We were both born in Frankfurt, Germany, where my dad was stationed in the early 80s. So there's a little bit of wider gap between he and the oldest brother, and of course a bigger gap between me and the oldest brother. So, you know, we were only 2 grades apart. So when I'm in 3rd, he's in 5th, right? When I'm in 6th, he's in 8th. When I'm in 9th, he's in 11th. So we were often in the same school at the same time. And so that just kind of meant like, you know, growing up, doing the same things at the same time. A wider gap between me and my older brother. My oldest brother is 5.5 years. That's different. You know, it's like he left for college when I was in middle school, you know, whereas like Adam and I were in high school at the same time, you know, with the same people, going to the same parties, the same dances, right, and the same sports games. And we went to a very small school in Virginia. We lived in the smallest county in Virginia, and we only had one high school and one middle school and one elementary school. And so everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew us, and everybody knew him.
Wow. So now, what made him join the Army?
Well, I come from a long line of Army. So my dad, my grandfather's on both sides, uncle on my mom's side, great uncle on my mom's side. A cousin was in the military, in the Army, so mostly in the Army. My great uncle was in the Navy. No, you'd like that.
I do.
And so, so it's, I mean, I guess it's in our family culture. It's not like it's unheard of, right? Like, so, it wouldn't have been brand new. Like, my dad was in the Army for 14 years, before they downsized maybe the one time in U.S. history, they downsized the U.S. military in the early 90s. Right. And they forced my dad out, but he was planning to be career, you know, Army. He was an officer in the Army. My dad was a major when he got out. My grandfather retired as lieutenant colonel. Both of my grandfathers fought in World War II and Korea. My other grandfather became a diplomat after that. So, you know, it's definitely in the family culture, something we talked about, something we knew about, something that we knew, you know, that my dad did. And Adam was smart, and he got into college, and he went to college, but he just, you know, sort of didn't know what he wanted to do. And so going through some things there, he came home after a year of college trying to figure it out. He was doing stuff and getting into trouble, gotten into trouble before. And he sort of sidestepped a really big issue that his friend got busted for. And he was like, I need to do something with myself. Like, it's going to be bad. I'm going to end up in jail or dead in a gutter or something like that. And so he's like, I don't know what to do. And, I don't know what I want to study necessarily or going to school. So he's like, I'm going to enlist in the Army. And that's what he did. And it was really funny because my dad and his dad, my grandfather, and the other grandfather, both grandfathers and my dad went when he graduated from basic training out of Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, is where he did that. And, they can't talk much when they're there. So I maybe talked to him once or twice or talked to him like the day he was graduating and asking him about it and whatnot. And he really seemed like he found his place. He found his niche. He had said that. And I just thought it was so weird because he's one that's like a free spirit, flying by the seat of his pants, living fast, living hard, having fun, like not thinking about the consequences, doing what he wants, like not listening to rules at home, like all of that kind of thing. And then he's there and I'm like, this doesn't sound like you. It's like they tell you when to eat, when to get up, what to eat, what to wear, right? All these. I was like, how are you doing that? And he was just like, it's not hard, Sarah. So it doesn't sound hard. It doesn't sound like something you want to do. And he was like, but it's not hard. You do what you're supposed to, and then they like you, and then, there it is. And so I don't know, what do you want to say about that? He knew how to work the system. He liked it. He fit in, whatever the case may be, right? It surprised me because it's like he's not one that likes to be told what to do, but like he thrived in that environment, and I think he felt like he had a purpose and was ready to go. I never heard him say he regretted it or second guessed it.
Wow. It's funny how people have specific reasons why they join the military. It could be just to straighten up, or it could be just like, hey, I have very limited opportunity where I live right now, or whatever it may be. But it's funny that once you join, for whatever reason, there are some people like your brother who automatically fit in, and that's where they're supposed to be. And you're looking at them like, wow, you are the last person I thought was gonna, I remember, and I'm kind of going off a little bit on a tangent, but I remember when I was a recruiter, I put somebody in the Navy who I really thought that this guy is probably not gonna go through boot camp, right? He's not gonna make it, right?
He's not gonna make it. Yeah.
About maybe 10 years ago, no, it wasn't that long, maybe about 8 years ago, whatever, it was a long time ago. I went to an event, and I look up and I see, he goes, Petty Officer Goggins? I'm like, yeah. He goes, remember me? And I'm like, no, right? And he goes, I'm so-and-so. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I was like, so what do you, and I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, what are you doing with your life? Yeah, I came back and did this, that, and the other. No, he goes, yeah, I'm just home on leave. I'm a chief now. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, he actually now outranks me. I'm like, whoa, it wouldn't have been hard. But I mean, I'm just saying, it was just like, wow. And it was amazing to see that and to listen to your brother's story. I know that you write in the book, and I'm not going to share this too much in this, the pain of the loss of your brother and the impact that it had on your family. There were casualties after that casualty. And it actually gave you the purpose that you have today. Am I wrong in saying that or no?
It definitely gave me experience to do this better. I was in school already and was like on my way to being a therapist at whatever route I was going to go. I'd been through some stuff in my early life, but nothing yet. I was 20 years old when he died that impacted me as greatly. And I was with some colleagues over the weekend, and I was like in the throes of my grief for quite some time, like 2 years. He died in the summer in between my sophomore and junior year at Virginia Tech. And when you're 20 years old and the first really major death you experience is that of your young and healthy brother, it's just like flips you upside down. I don't know, just flipped my world inside out. And a bunch of other college kids who aren't used to that, even if they have experienced a death, it's probably a grandparent or somebody older. There's nobody who understood where I was coming from, and there was not a lot of support. And with my mom being chronically ill, my dad being wrapped up in that, my other brother starting his own life in a different state, there was like no support for me. I did not know what to do, except go to therapy and utilize the university counseling services, because I didn't have another way to have support. None of my friends knew what to do for me. And it's not like I could blame them. Nobody knew what was going on. And so I spent, this happened in July 2006. I get back to Virginia Tech, October 2006. We get through. I'm doing great in school, but struggling every place else. And then in April 2007, the Virginia Tech shootings happened.
Wow.
And I was a student there, and I was in class 2 buildings over from the shootings. And then it's like this whole campus is in grief, and now there are resources abound and people talking about it, and it's like everywhere. And that, I know that that's a big event, and a lot of people know about it. And I was there, and it had some impact on my experience, but most of it was not negative, because I was smack dab in the middle of something else completely more personal and
Right.
more impactful, which was my brother dying. I didn't know anybody that personally that was killed in the Virginia Tech shootings. And although I was there, and it's definitely a part of my personal story, it wasn't as impactful as this, but I watched it impact everybody else in the way that I had felt, 8 months ago, and was still sort of floundering. And so that was a really interesting experience for me. And I guess in a way it's like, well, other people are grieving around me. They're just not grieving the same thing or in the same way or at the same relationship. And I found that, that makes a difference sometimes, in people understanding or at all being able to relate. And I was still in a situation where people just like didn't get it. And right when it happens, and I talk about it in the book, like my immediate gut reaction is to call my other brother who lives in a different state. And that is he's the only one who's going to know what this feels like at all. We have the same brother, and we both lost a brother, right? And we both lost the same brother in the same way. And he's the only other person that's going to know what it's like to lose this brother at this time, this way. And it just felt really important that I let him know the same time the rest of us know. I don't know why. It was if I'm we can't wait a day, then we've already been sitting on this a day. It's like, this happened right now, and we're all going to experience this. And just because he's not here doesn't mean he doesn't need to know right now. And so I called him. I think I was the first person that thought to call him. I mean, it was just craziness in my house. My mom was already sick, and to some degree, and just, I talk about in the book as well, Adam was the golden child, the favorite, definitely my mom's favorite. And so it hit her really hard. She was basically devastated and gave up living after he died. And so she is just an absolute basket case. And I just can't make sense of it, right? I can't make sense of what they're telling me. And I feel like it's important that my brother knows, and whatever, feels it at the same time. For some reason, like I said, that was just super important. And what a lot of people don't know is my brother was killed on July 22nd, and my oldest brother's birthday is July 24th, and his wife's birthday is July 21st, and now his son's birthday is July 17th. And so when I'm calling him, it's the day after his now wife's birthday and 2 days before his birthday. They were celebrating, and every year, this is sort of in the middle of it. And so he was doing something with friends and whatever, and I just sort of dropped this wrecking ball into his life, in the same way that it fell into our lives. And he came the next day, and I was pretty unsettled in general, but really unsettled until my other brother arrived, because I just was like, nobody else is going to get it. I mean, his friends are sad, but they're his friends. My parents are sad, but it's their kid. This is my brother, and I'm 20 years old, and this is really hard to make sense of. And it was rough, and it destroyed my family. There's no other way to say it. I am estranged from just about everybody who's not dead. And a lot of people are dead now, including my mom. My mom died 3 years later, and she 100% gave up the fight after this day. And we broke apart. I mean, there was no coming together. There was no grieving together. There was no talking about it together. We were 20 years out, and like none of that happens. The only thing we do together is a scholarship in his name, and that's been tumultuous over the years. And so I didn't have a family system for support. I did not have anybody walking me through grief and loss, mental health, anxiety, PTSD, all the shit that happened for me. I did not have that. I had to set out to learn about those things on my own, to get my own support, to find a different way. And the thing that I talk about a lot is, especially in a lot of those early years, when I really don't know anything, and have nowhere to go. My brother's, Adam's words, are the thing that pushed me forward a lot. And he sent this one email to home sometime while he was deployed. That was mostly how he communicated. He didn't call super often. It was more difficult for that, and he worked like an opposite schedule. But this is what he said, at the end of his email, after he's sort of chit-chatting, talking to all of us, and what he's been up to, and asking a little bit of what we've had going on at home. And he says this, and I'll never forget it, and it's still really impactful for me to this day. Make sure those whiners back home don't forget what they have, and what people in our family and many others, although too few, have done for this country. Freedom isn't earned overnight. Good quality of life isn't given to you by the fucking tooth fairy. Sometimes things do suck and they aren't fair, but you suck that shit up and drive on, because that's all you can do. Otherwise, you'll get run the fuck over, because life moves on with or without you. And there have been many times where I was like, this fucking sucks. Yeah. And this is horrible, and I don't know a way out, and I just want to stop, right? And it's and I don't get to fucking stop unless I just want to stop living. And, that wasn't my plan. And so I just didn't stop. I just, picked my shit up and drive on, many, many, many a times. And my very, unhealthy at the time, but, it powered me through. I can recognize the impact of some of the ways that I've coped and some of the ways that trauma has impacted me. And that is a lot of anger. And when I get angry, I am motivated. I am motivated to do anything when I am angry. And so the hurt gets buried underneath that anger so that I can go. And so my motto for myself a long time was, I'm like a shark. If I stop moving, I'll die. So I just didn't stop moving. It's one foot in front of the other. And my one foot in front of the other was go back to school, do well, get to graduate school, do well, get out, find a job, do well, get your license, start your business, do well. I did all of that. And I did all of that well, and lots of things are still empty and still lonely, and I still struggle with trauma, and my family is still fucking broken and doesn't exist anymore. And it sucks, and I don't know how it would have turned out otherwise. I don't know if my mom would have gotten better or if she would have died. I don't know. I don't know if I would have then, done the things I did, met my spouse when I did, right? All the things, but man, I wish it was different, and I would trade it in a second. I would trade everything I have and everything I've built, right, to have him back, and I can't do that. So all I have is what fueled, what I created in the fuel of the hurt and the anger and the separation and the loneliness from my family and just the loss. And so for me, 19 years and looking back, and I didn't know this when this first happened. I didn't know this 2 years out. And, reading a lot of the other stories in the book, a lot of them are a lot fresher, a lot newer, not as old. Some as old as mine, not all of them. And, I have the 19 years of reflection, of self-work, of therapy, of being a therapist, of learning a lot about these things, of seeing how it was going to play out in my family and the people around me, and how people were going to move through life and deal with this and find a way. And it's interesting, and we've all dealt with it very differently. And there isn't a lot of space or grace for the way anyone else is dealing with it. And so we have not been able to come together as a result. And so my anger fueled a lot of achievement. It's what I can say about it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of what I've achieved. But it's been a really lonely road. And like I said, I'd give it all back if it meant my family wasn't going to fall apart. And so I didn't just lose my brother that day, but I didn't know it. But 19 years later, I lost all 4 members of my family with that one death.
I do want to say one thing. Your strength was a testimony to your brother. And if you guys are anything alike, clearly he was a strong person. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the program. And I look forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks, too.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And like I was telling you before, I've been sitting on this and thinking about it, and it morphs over time. And anybody that's been through grief and loss and you got any of the years of it behind you, it transforms. It doesn't go away, it morphs into something else and becomes malleable or something that you can deal with or hold in your hands or see or whatever the case may be. And I wouldn't have known, where it was going to take me and where I would end up 19 years later. But I've been thinking about this and thinking about this story and thinking about how I would describe it and share it and its impact. And it just seemed like this opportunity came at the right time for me to bring it all together and to put it out there. And I write a lot for anybody that follows me. I'm not just a therapist. I'm a mental health and trauma-informed content writer and a leadership strategist and an advocate for all kinds of things, including mental health and mental health services and for the mental health of clinicians because they go through a lot and there's not enough respect there. And it means a lot to me that this is there. And it's, people aren't going to just need to know me to know this story. And that's what it's been for a long time. And if you were in the Army, you knew about it. If you were in our circle, you knew about it. But outside of that, it's like always posting every year and letting people know what Memorial Day means, what Veterans Day means, when he died, on his birthday. And it means a lot to me that this is out there forever in the world, and that people will know the story and know what he did and understand that, it's a little less modern day than it was then, since we're 20 years out. But, it's a modern day war hero. It's what you think about for somebody from the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, who fought and died so that we could be here doing whatever we're doing, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. And that is why I will never take for granted the cost of my freedom, and that I let people know that it isn't free, because it costs the lives of all of those people, and the sacrifice of all the people that didn't die who did the work. And I say all the time, there is no way in hell I would volunteer to go into a war zone. And I'm grateful every day for the people that do, including my brother. And so I am super proud to be a part of this project. I feel like it's some of the best writing I have ever done.
It is a great chapter.
My therapist agrees. He reads a lot that I write.
It is a great chapter. It really
and
is.
And I'm really happy to promote it. I'm excited to go to New York, and I'm probably going to blubber like a baby when his face is on a marquee in Times Square, because I can't get loud enough and say it to enough people, right? It's like, hear this story, listen to this thing, like, understand, it still cost this 22-year-old life in 2006, and as it is still today in 2025, that we don't know about, that we don't hear about. His story never made the news. Nobody would have ever seen it. It wasn't like that. It was a big deal in my small hometown, but it was not a big deal on the national scale, but it's a big deal. And I want people to recognize that, and I'm really glad that now is the time.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your service and what you're doing. And obviously, Adam, I know, he's proud of you. I know he is. We'll be right back right after this.
Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. At DNP, we bring your dream, purpose, and passion to life in print. Whether your manuscript is ready to go or just an idea waiting to unfold, We're here to guide you. With expert editing, stunning graphics, and the knowledge to make your book a reality, we'll help you share it with the world. From book festivals to signings, this is your moment. Let's turn your dream, purpose, and passion into print. Connect with us today and make your dream a reality.
Hello and welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. The story of Adam is a story that a lot of people still have. There are people who have lost their loved ones in battle, serving our nation. One thing I have to say about Adam is he did not die for a certain person. He didn't die. What I mean by that, he didn't die for the liberal or the conservative. He didn't die for the white or the black. He didn't die for the gay or the straight. He didn't die for the socialist or the capitalist. He died for this nation and the right for you to protest. He died for the right for you to own a home. He died for the right for you to go on vacation. He died for the right for you to go out and cook those hot dogs and hamburgers and ribs and all the things that you cooked just this past Friday. And so we need to keep that in perspective. We need to realize that we are all together in this, regardless of what our position is. We also need to realize that we all come in here with into this country, and we all come into this life and all this other thing with different experiences, different thought processes, different ideas. And the thing is just because you have that idea does not mean you're 100% right. Because you have that idea, that means you should be able to listen to other people's ideas and maybe take the ideas they have and enhance your idea and make a better idea. We don't do that anymore. We are very divided. And that is a very sad part of our country right now. I don't think, and everyone said this is more divided than it's ever been. They said that back in 2000 when I'll never forget the election between Bush and Gore. And they said, this country's never been so divided before. Well, I will tell you right now, anybody who died in 2000 and now in 2025 came back to life, like, oh wow, 2020 was, or 2000 was way better. And that's the thing. We are getting more and more and more and more divided. We need to really start looking for common ground, and we need to look to where we are, where we're headed, and how we can enhance each other by just sitting down and talking about our ideas. I really am glad that Sarah shared her story with us, and I hope that that story makes you reflect on the fact that, America is great because of people like Adam, and we are free because of people like Adam, and that because he defended our freedom regardless, we should respect the freedoms and the thoughts of other people regardless as well. We will be back next week with a story of persistence that I don't think it is a person who went through so much, and it is somebody who you are going to absolutely you're going to admire for what he has done. We'll be back next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.